He was a quiet intelligence officer in East Germany working in the shadows, his name known to almost no one outside Secret Service archives. Decades later, that same man stands at the center of global headlines, hailed by some as the defender of his homeland and condemned by others as the architect of international turmoil. Few would recognize the young KGB operative strolling along Berlin's broad avenues, carrying coded messages and watching foreign diplomats from dimly lit windows. He spoke little, wrote less, and kept his thoughts locked behind a calm, watchful gaze. His mission was anonymity, blend in, gather information, vanish without a trace. No one imagined that this unassuming officer, humble, disciplined, almost invisible, would one day command the world's attention as the leader of the world's largest nation by landmass. Today, his decisions shape the fate of millions. Sanctions, energy pipelines, military deployments, cyber campaigns all bear his signature. His rivals tread carefully, weighing every word before speaking his name. His supporters rally under national pride, crediting him with restoring stability after chaotic years. Yet critics accuse him of silencing dissent, controlling the press, and redrawing borders with force. Across continents, political analysts debate his motives, historians compare him to emperors of old, and activists whisper his name with equal parts fear and defiance. This extraordinary transformation from a faceless intelligence officer to one of the most powerful and controversial leaders on earth raises a single compelling question. How does someone rise from behind closed doors to rule a nation for more than 2 decades? In the next part, we will trace that journey step by step, from his austere childhood in a wartime city, through secretive years in Soviet intelligence, to a meteoric political ascent that saw him handpicked by the president, elevated to prime minister, and ultimately sworn in as the head of state. We'll explore the defining moments that sharpened his resolve, the alliances and rivalries that tested his skill, and the choices that transformed a lifetime in the shadows into a reign under the harsh glare of international scrutiny. When Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin was born in October 1952, Leningrad was still healing from the siege that had claimed so many lives during World War II. His family lived in a small communal apartment, sharing kitchens and bathrooms with other families. As a child, he learned early lessons in resilience and discipline, lining up 4 bread rations, studying by the dim light of a single lamp, and watching his father, himself a factory foreman, come home exhausted after long shifts. Those years of scarcity and reconstruction led a young boy determined to succeed by any means necessary. At age 16, Putin joined the judo and sambo clubs at the local sports school. He excelled quickly, learning that focus, strategic thinking, and patience could overcome even stronger opponents. His coaches later recalled how he would train late into the evening, refining each throw until it became second nature. It was on those tatami mats that he first discovered the power of mental discipline and physical control traits he would carry into adulthood. In 1975, Putin graduated from Leningrad State University with a law degree and was recruited by the KGB, the Soviet Union's security agency. He moved with his wife to Moscow for training and then, in 1985, was posted to Dresden in East Germany under the guise of a translator. There, he lived quietly in a modest apartment with his young family, attending ballet performances, reading oath, and slipping into foreign bars to listen for scraps of information. His official duties involved cultivating contacts, intercepting illicit broadcasts, and filing curt reports on the foreign students he befriended. Few knew his real rank, and fewer still suspected he was learning the art of power behind closed doors. Those Cold War years taught him the subtle mechanics of influence, how to build alliances without fanfare, how to spot weakness in an opponent's posture, and how to keep secrets buried beneath layers of plausible deniability. When the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, Putin refused to celebrate. He burned sensitive files and quietly destroyed cassette tapes of intercepted conversations. By 1990, he slipped back across the border to a crumbling Soviet Union, determined to apply his training in a new era. In St. Petersburg, formerly Leningrad, Putin found a mentor in Anatoly Sobchak, the city's reform-minded mayor. As Sobchak's advisor on international affairs, Putin negotiated joint ventures with Western oil companies, drafted agreements with foreign investors, and learned how to navigate the turbulent waters of post-Soviet politics. His demeanor was calm but firm. He spoke little in public, but when he did, his words carried weight. He drafted policy, smoothed over conflicts between Yeltsin's allies, and built a reputation as a loyal, efficient fixer who could get things done without drawing attention to himself. In 1996, Moscow's power players noticed this discreet operator who never landed embarrassing headlines and delivered results on time. When President Boris Yeltsin searched for loyalists to bring to the Kremlin, Putin's name came up again and again. By 1998, he was deputy head of the presidential administration, overseeing intelligence and security services, the very realm he had mastered in the KGB. His promotion to head of the FSB, the KGB's successor agency, put him at the top of Russia's security apparatus, controlling a vast network of agents and informants. Behind the scenes, Putin met regularly with regional governors, oligarchs, and foreign diplomats. He built a web of mutual obligations, favors granted here, discreet warnings given there. He studied the media landscape, learning which newspapers could be bought with a phone call, and which TV channels would bend if coverage turned unfavorable. His office in the Kremlin was Spartan, a heavy wooden desk, a flickering lamp, and piles of intelligence briefs that he absorbed in long, silent reading sessions. By late 1999, President Yeltsin faced plummeting popularity and a crisis of confidence. In a surprise announcement on New Year's Eve, he resigned and named Putin as acting president. Overnight, the quiet spy master became the nation's leader. His first televised address was brief and direct. He warned against foreign interference, pledged to restore order in the North Caucasus, and said he would prioritize economic stability. He spoke calmly, his voice carrying the assurance of someone who had spent years learning how to command attention without demanding it. Within weeks, then acting President Putin's approval ratings soared. Voters gravitated to his promise of order after the chaos of the 1990s. In March 2000, he was elected to the presidency with over 50% of the vote. Yet even as he prepared to take office officially, he remained the same disciplined operator from his KGB days, surrounded by loyal aides, consulting intelligence reports each morning, and steering clear of sensationalism. This journey from a war-scarred childhood in communal Leningrad to clandestine work in East Germany, to rapid ascendancy in St. Petersburg's City Hall, and finally to the highest office in the land reveals the relentless drive and strategic acumen at Putin's core. He combined the physical discipline of martial arts, the secrecy of intelligence tradecraft, and the political savvy of a city manager to transform from a near-invisible KGB officer into the focal point of Russia's national identity. In the next section, we will see how he consolidated power as president, reforming the economy, reining in oligarchs, and projecting authority both at home and on the world stage. In the months after taking office, Putin acted decisively to cement his control. He relaunched the war in Chechnya, crushing separatists and installing a loyal local leader in Grozny, moves that, despite widespread human rights concerns, earned him sky-high approval at home. Next, he reined in Russia's powerful oligarchs. In 2003, he ordered the arrest of Mikhail Khodorkovsky, head of Yukos Oil, and broke the company apart, sending a clear message: economic power would serve the state or lose its assets. Other billionaires quickly fell in line or fled abroad. Control of the media followed. Independent TV channels were merged into state-friendly conglomerates, and critical journalists faced legal pressure, or worse, most famously Anna Politkovskaya, whose 2006 murder sent shockwaves through the country. With dissent muted, Putin's Kremlin shaped public opinion and silenced opposition voices. Yet at the same time, Russia's economy soared on high oil prices. Wages doubled, pensions were paid reliably, and a new middle class emerged in major cities. Infrastructure projects sprouted up in Moscow and beyond, giving the impression of a new Russia reborn under strong leadership. On the international stage, Putin challenged Western influence. In 2008, when Georgia tried to reclaim South Ossetia and Abkhazia, he ordered a swift military response, pushing Georgian forces back and recognizing those regions as independent. This display of force restored national pride for many Russians and signaled that Moscow would defend its interests by military means if necessary. By the end of his second term, Putin had transformed a chaotic post-Soviet state into a centralized power. Although he officially passed the presidency to Dmitry Medvedev in 2008 and became prime minister, real power remained with him. His blend of economic revival, media control, and strategic force abroad marked the climax of his rise, demonstrating how a former spy used precision tactics to reshape an entire nation. Vladimir Putin's story shows the extraordinary power of a single individual to shape a nation's destiny and the complex legacy that results. Rising from a modest childhood in post-war Leningrad, he mastered the art of influence in the shadows of Soviet intelligence. As president and prime minister, he fused decisive force, economic revival, and information control to rebuild Russia's global standing. Under Putin's rule, Russia reclaimed strategic territories, reasserted itself on the world stage, and enjoyed years of rapid economic growth fueled by high energy prices. Ordinary Russians saw paved roads, new factories, and stability after the turmoil of the 1990s. Yet that stability came at the cost of a tightly managed political space. Independent media were absorbed into pro-Kremlin outlets. Critics faced legal harassment or worse, and elections grew predictable rather than competitive. Internationally, Putin projected strength whether in Georgia, Syria, or through cyber operations, fracturing old alliances and forcing Western governments to reconsider assumptions about post-Cold War order. For some, he revived Russia's pride. For others, he revived fears of authoritarian aggression. Today, as Putin continues to extend his tenure through constitutional changes and electoral strategies, his impact remains deeply contested. Supporters credit him with restoring national dignity, defending traditional values, and standing firm against external pressure. Detractors decry his suppression of dissent, erosion of democratic institutions, and willingness to use military force abroad. Putin's legacy illustrates that power can deliver both order and oppression. It reminds us that long-term leadership, when unchecked by independent institutions, can concentrate authority in ways that reshape society for generations. His life also teaches that resilience, strategic patience, and the mastery of media and messaging can propel someone from obscurity to dominion over the world's largest landmass. As the world watches how Russia's next chapter unfolds, whether under Putin or his successors, his example raises essential questions about leadership, accountability, and the balance between security and freedom. I have 3 special questions for you. 1. What do you believe is the most lasting effect of Putin's leadership on Russia and the wider world? 2. Can a nation truly prosper under strong centralized power if political freedoms are limited? Why or why not? 3. How should the international community engage with leaders who combine economic success and strategic strength with restrictions on dissent?
If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me make more stories for you.